Hi everyone, please don't forget to subscribe, like and share my channel. That will motivate me to create more such videos. So in last video we have seen how do we change WinAFL to use shared memory mode. Basically we have added a feature to WinAFL which allows us to write and read input from the shared memory rather than file. So that helps in performance. It increases the fuzzing speed because the fuzzer don't need to write a file each time we want to, it makes any changes, whether it is doing a bit flip or whether it is doing a byte flip or if it is doing any other mutation. So it don't need to write any file on the disk, but it can simply write it on the shared memory, and then the harness program, it can read the file from the shared memory. So that avoids all the disk operation, and that actually helps us with the fuzzing speed. And in this video, I'm going to talk about a new fuzzer which has been released few months back, and it is called Jackalope. So it has been written by Ivan Patrick, the author of WinAFL, and it has been released a few months back. I think from the Git log we can see the first commit was somewhere around 8 months back. So this is what it was released, and it is relatively a new fuzzer. It is still under development, and as of writing this as of making this video, I see that there is a latest commit which is just 13 minutes back. So this is under active development, and uh, it is very helpful if you want to run your own fuzzer, if you want to learn how to modify the fuzzer. Then the code of this is very simple, and I will just open a code. I'll just open the code for that actually and show you. So this is the code of Jackalope fuzzer, and you will see there are different actually components like fuzzer leaf, and then there is tiny over here. So tiny instrumentation, you can see, is a library which was written from scratch, and it allows you to instrument the program at the runtime. So generally, if you are using WinAFL, you will find that WinAFL uses something called DynamoRio for dynamic binary instrumentation, and it is a very big software. So it might affect the performance of the first program. But tiny instrumentation, it has been written by Ivan Patrick, and it is a very small piece of code. If you see, there are only few files. You can actually go and check the code yourself, and so yeah, so it's very small and it helps with the fuzzing. It offers better performance, and it is relatively simple. So it also has a feature that is called compare coverage. So that is something which WinAFL don't have right now. And what I mean by compare coverage is that it basically tracks all the compare instruction during the fuzzing. So say there is a compare, say if x is equal to xyz, then this can easily track them, and it can figure out what is the value for that. So that actually speed ups your fuzzing, and it will help to find issues quickly rather than just doing bit flipping or byte flipping or doing any other mutation over here. So this will actually help. So tiny instrumentation has compare coverage, and if you want, you can enable this by giving a flag. We will see the Jackalope option when we run this fuzzer, and so this is the fuzzer main code, and recently there has been support which was added. It is for grammar based fuzzing. So if you want to fuzz any file like say JavaScript or any other this kind of stuff which are like say PDF or something which uses standard dictionary words, then you can use grammar based fuzzer. Or if you want to fuzz some binary files like some image file, some bitmap or multimedia file, then you will use binary fuzzer. So if you look at the main function over here, it actually takes two arguments, argv, which is standard for any C program. It creates one new fuzzer object, then it checks whether the grammar uh, command and argument has been given. If so, it will create grammar fuzzer, or if not, it will create binary fuzzer. So in this video, we are only going to use binary fuzzer, and you can see that it calls fuzzer and run method from that with the provided arguments. So this code is relatively very simple. If you want to look at this code, I will suggest you to download the Jackalope, clone it and open it in Visual Studio or Visual Studio Code. And inside the fuzzle you will see that there are different files. So let us go and check at the mutator first. What kind of mutators are there? So Jackalope has very simple mutators, and it is something like say byte flip mutator or block flip mutator, append mutator, block insert, block duplicate, interesting value mutator, and splice mutator, etc. So these are different kinds of I will say notation strategies which Jackalope uses, and each of these strategy performs a specific operation. So for example, in case of interesting value mutator, what it will do is that it will take some interesting value like 0 or FFFF or FFFFFFF, and it will add this value. It will replace basically the data in your file with this interesting value, and it will feed this to your program. And there are chances that this value, right, these are the interesting value, because this can lead to some kind of integer overflow or integer underflow in your program. You can actually go through my previous videos if you are not clear what I'm talking over here. So these are the interesting values, and this can help you in discover more vulnerability or more bugs. Then if you look at the splice mutator, what it does is that it will take more than one or two sample, and what it will do is that it will randomly combines them. So it will basically create a new file out of two or more samples. So this is what splice mutator does. And you can actually go through this code. I'm not going to discuss it in much detail. It should be self-explanatory. You can also let's also look at sample delivery actually. So this is the code which is responsible for delivering mutated sample to the harness program, so that your further can monitor it for any crashes or not. So this is the code which is actually responsible for copying data to the shared memory, as you can see it over here. Basically over here it is basically taking the sample and inside the sample deliver sample function or method, and this is the shared memory handle. It basically copies the size over here to the shared memory. First 4 byte will be the size, and then it will copy the sample file data to the shared memory. So this is how it delivers the sample, and inside your harness program, if you see, you need to read this shared memory data from this shared memory. So this is how it works. And now what we can do over here is that I will show you how to compile that, how to build Jackalope first, and then we'll fuzz our simple GDI plus harness. This is actually harness for WinFL, which I have modified to work with Jackalope. So I will be walking you through that. So first thing you need to do is that you need to open this URL, that is github.com Google project 0 Jackalope, and simply copy the URL and to go to your command prompt and simply type git clone and the URL for Jackalope. So it will actually clone the repo. In my case, I have already cloned it, so it is giving this error. And then you also need to download Tiny instrument or Tiny instrument. So for that, what you can do is that if you go to this Jackalope GitHub repo, right, the command has been given over here. So you can go to the building Jackalope section over here, and you can copy this command. Basically, it will clone the Tiny instrument on your system. So just copy this and use git clone. So remember to go to the Jackalope directory, and then you need to clone this. Otherwise, it won't work. So in my case, I have already cloned this repo, so that's why I'm getting this error. And once you have cloned this repo, you need to compile this. So what you can do now is that you need to open Visual Studio command prompt, and it will look something like this. So you basically need to open Visual Studio command prompt and not the simple command prompt which you open. So you will notice something. This is developer command prompt for Visual Studio 2019, and then you need to make one directory that is, let's call it build. I already have it created. So in your case, you need to create this directory. So I have created this directory that is inside Jackalope folder, and the directory name is build. And now we need to configure it first, and then we will compile that. So to create the build file, you need to use this command, that is cmake. Make sure you have cmake installed on your system. -G and Visual Studio 16 2019. This is the Visual Studio version I'm using. In your case, if you are using 17, it will be different from that. You can simply do a Google search for that. And -A, that is architecture, Win32. So I am creating a 32-bit build, but in case you want to create a 64-bit build, you need to change it, and dot dot. So what it will do is that actually I need to run it from the build directory. So yeah, so inside your build directory, you need to copy this command, and when you run this, you will see that you will get some message like this, that build file have been returned to your build directory. And once you finish this step, the next step is to create the build, and for that the command will be this one. This is cmake --build dot and --config release. So you can basically create a debug build, you can create a release build. I'm going to create a release build over here, and remember this is a 32-bit build. So just press enter, and it will compile the file. It will create few executable, like one of them is fuzzer.exe and another one is taste.exe. So this taste.exe is the sample harness which has been given to taste the fuzzer, but in this case we are going to use our GDI harness program, which I have modified to work with Jackalope. I will be walking you through the code of that. So let me open that first. So you can see that this is the GDI harness, and I will be quickly walking you through the changes I have made to get it work with Jackalope. This is the same harness which comes with WinAFL, and you can even use this to fuzz with WinAFL. I have added support for shared memory mode. I have discussed this harness in my last video, so if you want, you can go and check that. So this is the same harness for WinAFL as well. And the changes I have made over here is that I have taken one variable which is boolean, and I am simply checking if option m is given to this main function. If option -m is given, it means that we'll be using shared memory mode. If option -f is given, it means we'll be using file-based mode. So if none of this option is present, then it will simply display the usage error message. I mean, it will say that you need to either use -f or -m, and then we are checking if use shared memory. It means that if -m option is given, then we'll call a function which is set up shared memory, and with argument 2, which is basically the name of the shared memory. So let's go to the definition over here, and inside the setup shared memory, you can notice that we are simply using a API, that is open file mapping, and we are giving the shared memory name over here. So basically after that we will call map view of file, and this will actually give us the handle of shared memory. So this is the simple code, and we'll basically get the handle to shared memory, which we can access by shm_data, and later on you will see we are calling the fuzzme function. If we go to the fuzzme function, you will notice that we are checking if use shared memory is set. If it is not set, then it means that we are using file-based mode, and in that case we will simply call new image GDI function, which will be basically creating a new GDI object over here, image object over here, and with the first data over here. So this will be file-based mode, and this file which we are giving to this new image function is the first file. So if any crashes occurs, if it is not able to pass properly, the crash will occur over here. But in case if we are using shared memory mode, it will come over here in the else part. And here you will notice that basically we have taken two variable. One is sample bytes, another one is sample size. And what it means is that we will basically take the sample size from our shared memory. The first 4 byte will be the size of the data inside shared memory. This is what we are taking over here, and there are some sanity checks. If sample size is more than the max sample file size, then we will trim it down, and then we will allocate the memory for sample bytes based on the sample size data which we received over here, and then we will copy all the data from shared memory to our newly allocated memory buffer, and then we will create a stream object from this memory. So basically what we are doing over here is that we are taking the first data from shared memory, we are copying it to a newly allocated memory buffer, and then from this memory buffer we are creating a new stream, and from this stream we will create a new image. So these are the changes you need to make when you want to use shared memory mode. You basically need to use a stream rather than file, because you are taking data from the memory, shared memory. So you basically have a uh, uh, bytes, raw bytes, and you need to convert it to a stream. And from the stream, you can create an image, because there is no point in copying this data again to a file and reading it, right? This is not we want. So that is why you need to use stream object over here. And then you will notice that we are simply calling a function that is create image from stream. In case of file, it was very simple. We are simply calling new image function. Here we are calling image from stream. So basically it will take the stream as input and it will create an image object over here. And that's it. And we can simply call a thumbnail API. We can get thumbnail image as well, and we simply delete the image. So if any issue occurs in processing, it will either crash over here where we are creating a new image object over here, or it will crash over here where we are getting the thumbnail of this image. So these are the change I need to make to get it work with Jackalope, and that I think it I have few defined over here. The max sample size is 1 MB. If you want, you can increase it to 2 MB or whatever you want. And yeah, so these are the only changes you need to make, and then you have to give the offset of this fuzzme function to the Jackalope, or if you are fuzzing using WinFL, you have to give offset of this function to WinFL. So this is the only change I have made, and I hope that it's very clear. And now that we have compiled our Jackalope fuzzer, let's go ahead and fuzz our GDI harness. So make sure to compile your GDI harness. It will create a exe file, something like this. I will show. And since we are not given any argument, it will basically give us this usage message that you either use -f for file mode or -m for the shared memory mode. And the first function offset is 1080. It is actually not the main offset. It's actually offset of the fuzzme function. So now we can collect some corpus, and I have already collected some corpus. I think I can show that. I have actually a lot of file over here, basically some EMF files, and there is no option to minimize it right now. If you are using WinFL, you will notice that it has one utility, WinFL cmin, which you can use to sort minimize and get all the unique file which from the corpus. But in this case, there is no such option. So what you can do is that you can either use WinFL cmin to minimize the corpus, or any other tool, and then you can use this minimize corpus over here with Jackalope. So in my case, I'm just testing it out, so I don't need to do that. And yeah, and then let me show you the command line to fuzz now. So this is the command line. Basically, you have this cursor.exe, which is the main executable, and then -in, you have to give the input directory which contains your initial state corpus, then -out, and you have to give out directory where you want all the data to be stored. It will show the state of the program and all the crashes, all the hangs which it found. And dash T, this is a timeout. I'm using 10,000. And dash delivery. So this can be either attachment, which is shared memory, or it can be file, depending upon how you want to fuzz it. So I will suggest to use shared memory mode whenever possible because it's very fast and it will avoid all the disk IO operations. And then dash instrument module, that is GDI plus or DLN. So if you want to instrument any other module, you simply need to use this option again, that is instrument module, let's say GDI 32.bln, and then target module. So it is the name of the executable, which basically name of the harness program. In this case, it is GDI plus underscore hardik.exe and dash target offset. So this is the offset of the first function, and it is 0x1080. You have to give the offset of the first function which you want to fuzz over here. Dash nx, it is 1 because our function takes only one argument. Dash iteration, that is I think 1000, so number of iteration before it creates a new process. Then dash persist, so we are using kind of persistent mode over here. And dash loop, dash CMP coverage. So this CMP coverage is used for compare coverage, as I mentioned, right? If your program has some checks, some string checks, like if x equal to xyz, then compare coverage can help in this campaign. And then dash your executable file name or harness file name, dash m, and @. Now many people make a mistake over here. They will basically give dash m, which means that use shared memory mode, and then they will give delivery as file, or they will give delivery as file over here, and they will give option as dash m over here. So make sure that whatever option you give in the delivery, you use same option in the your harness program. It can be either delivery /mem and shared memory, so you need to use dash m. If it is delivery file, you need to use dash m over here, and then @. So this is a simple command line, and you can also resume your campaign by simply giving like something like resume over here. So if you are running your fuzzer and you need to cancel that, and then you again want to resume your fuzzer from that state, you can use this option. So let me try with resume if it works or not. I'm not sure if I run this fuzzer in the past. Okay, so resume is working for me, and so this is how it will work. This is actually fuzzing our program, and you will see various messages like total executions are this much, and then unique samples are 605. There is 0 crash. Out of that, again 0 unique crashes are there. There are 0 hangs. Offsets are over here, and the execution speed is 89 or 46 or something, right? So this is the execution speed we are getting. And another thing you need to use over here is that if you want to use multiple CPU cores, then in case of WinFL, you need to run one master and different sleeves. But in this case, you can simply use a option that is AND threads, and you can give the CPU cores you have or the number of CPU cores you want to use. So in my case, I have 8 CPU cores. I am giving 8 over here, and that will work. So you can see that it is fuzzing our program, and execution speed which we are getting is somewhere around it varies actually from 20 to 60. Again, it is coming down to 16. So this is how you fuzz, and every time it finds a new block hit, you will get a message something like this, that instrumented module GDI plus and code size and like that. So if you get any crash, it will be displayed over here, how many unique crashes are there, how many hangs are here, and how many total execution have been done. So this is very simple fuzzer. As I said, it don't have a fancy GUI like WinAFL, which we are used to if we are using WinAFL. It's very basic fuzzer, but it is something you can change yourself, you can learn from it. So I will suggest you to try it out. And now let me go and explain the directory structure for this fuzzer. So let's go to our GDI And okay, so you will see there are different directories over here like crashes and hangs, and there are samples. So if you go to the samples directory, this is basically the queue which you used to have in WinFL. So this will contain all the file which have been queued, which triggers a new code path over here. And if you go to the crashes folder, it contains all the crash, which all the inputs which cause it crash. In my case, I have few crashes, but I doubt I was not able to replicate them actually, so that is fine. And inside hangs, you will get all the input which cause hangs in your program. So I think the output data structure is very simple. The input one which you are seeing over here uh, are mostly the input file which this fuzzer is using, and a state.dat file. So it contains all the states related data. Like in WinFL or AFL, you have some fuzzer state or something, some file which is to contain all the statistics. So in case you want to resume your fuzzing session, it will read this file. It will use this data from it to resume the session. So this is all about Jackalope fuzzer, and I hope that you have liked this video. If you have any question or comments or any feedback, feel free to post on my YouTube channel, and feel free to reach me out on Twitter if you want. And again, please don't forget to subscribe, like, and share my channel. That will motivate me to create more such videos. Till next video, stay safe and enjoy. Goodbye. Thank you.